we wanted to just come up for a minute and just to talk about our small group. Last week, Christy came up and told about all the wonderful things that they've been doing in their small group. Ours started out, this is our second book now, and one of the things that we done in that was we wanted to be active. We wanted to do things outside the church, not just meet with one another and go over stuff. We wanted to actually put some action to the things that we were learning about. Our first book was Multiply, and it was about disciple building. In the Great Commission, a lot of people they look at that as it's just something he said. But I want you to take it a bit further than that. This was a man's last words on earth. How significant is it when a dying person leaves you with some last words? Well, how significant is it to us that Christ left us with the Great Commission as his last words before ascending to heaven? And that should play, a big part into our everyday thinking as to how we're leading our life. And one of the things that we've discussed in our group is what we do would terrify some of you people in here. And this is just kind of discussed amongst ourselves, but
it terrified us when we first went.
That's exactly right. Going out into our first visit was into a subdivision, and we were just going to knock on doors and tell people, just ask them if we could pray with them. We did not want to sponsor Wells Baptist Church. We wanted to be obedient. We still, when on our visits, we don't sponsor Wells Baptist Church. We are a small group who's trying to be obedient to the words of God. Well, we will tell people where we came from and who we are so that we don't terrify people, because we are kind of, well, you look at me and Nathan, and it's not, we could scare some people, I guess. Especially you come knocking up on your door at 10 o'clock in the morning. And what we've discovered is not many people are dressed at 10 o'clock in the morning anymore.
Hiding behind doors.
But
it's happened twice.
But we do want to talk about our group. This is not really an invitation to our group. Although this is our last week together. We're going to do one more. We've got this week together to finish up our book, Forgotten God, which was about the Holy Spirit. And I'll be honest with you, this book, to me, and me and Nathan started to make this thing real complicated, and we trashed all that, and we're just going to talk to you guys. But following the Holy Spirit in those things that he says to us.
And the big thing about that book, Forgotten God, which I would recommend all of you to read, I mean, none of us truly understand what the helper is that God left us, what that Holy Spirit is that God left us. That is God in us. So when we go out to witness to other people, to pray to other people, when we had that fear, that first house, we were just like two guys that said, okay, you can do that, but they kept ignoring us. And we're like pulling teeth trying to get a conversation out of them. And then we left that first house thinking, is this how the rest of it's going to go? And then the rest of the day, people welcomed us into their homes, praying for them, people crying they needed prayers. And from the book Forgotten God, reading that, just once we grasp the concept of what the Holy Spirit is and the power that he gives us, knocking on the door praying for people is nothing. Because how many people in here have asked for people to pray for them? So shouldn't you pray for others? There's a lost world in Giles County.
honest with you, a world that can shock you when you get into it. 2 weeks ago, I think every single one of us was shocked by a young lady who told her story to us. And Giles County is not, we all have, I'm going to say, we all have blessed homes. Not everyone in Giles County has a blessed home. There is a mission that can be done that you don't have to travel thousands of miles away. There's a mission that can be done in Giles County. You don't have to join our small group to join our mission. We would like to invite every single one of you to go and visit with people. And Nathan is fixing to do something right now. I don't want to hear, I'm not capable. Tommy Lee has been on 2 of our visits with us. Tommy Lee walks the streets with us and visits homes
with a
praying,
walker.
With a walker.
He does not refuse to be drove. Now, if we go farther into subdivision, we'll bring the vehicle halfway up, and then that way we can get him closer. But Tommy can't walk up the steps to the house, half the houses we go to. But what Tommy does is sits on that sidewalk and prays for them people. And when you have 4 or 5 people and one person coming to the door and they see people on the sidewalk praying for them, that's more powerful than the person at the door. And they see a person, we're using him as an example, who struggles to get around. If I saw someone like that coming to my door wanting to pray for me, I want what he's got. That drives him to do that.
That obedience to something greater. He understands that obedience to our Lord, that gift that Jesus Christ gave for each and every one of us has got to be shared. We're not trying to build, yes, we are trying to build disciples, but we're doing it in a very amateur way. We're doing it in a manner of just praying with people. Because I'm going to be honest with you, we're not comfortable with this either. We get, 2 weeks ago, I was trying to make excuses for myself not to go and do this. And I have seen the benefits myself. I've cried in the living room with a complete stranger.
That Saturday he was talking about he wasn't wanting to go. He was trying to make excuses. We all had things busy. We were like, we can't do it this weekend. But the first person they see on the streets asks for help with their vehicle. And then next thing you know, they led that person to Christ. Had his group not been obedient, there would not be one more in the kingdom of heaven. So we're not asking for you to come be up there, do a speech or preach to people. Just share the love of Christ. That's all. And Chris is very good about splitting it up in groups, who fits good with who. And we just challenge you, teenagers on up. Do what we're commanded.
We're going to start a new small group. We're going to take a small break after this. I think that's what I understand from Miss Tara and Chris. We're going to take a small break for a few weeks, but then we're going to come back with a new series. You're more than welcome to join our group. Now, we're the only ones, I think we've scared everybody off. I don't know for sure. But it's not scary, guys. It's being obedient. And when you get out there and you trust what you've told to do, it becomes easy. We're not going to put you, if Chris and Tara has to split off where they take one group, me and Sonia will take another, Nathan and Leanne, we will split off to where you're not the one that, if you're not comfortable with praying with folks, I believe you will be with just a couple of trips. But we won't leave you just hanging out, but we would love for you guys to experience what we experience, whether you join the small group or not. On those Saturdays, we're going to get with the one-call system or something and put out that we're going to go out for visits and where we're going to meet at that morning. And if that's something that you guys would like to do, we would love to share it with you, because after seeing Giles County, we've got something to do. We've got something to tell. These people have stories to tell us. And as they share their stories with us, we can share our story as to what Christ has done in our life. And while what we do is maybe just offering to pray with people may not be what some of you would consider disciple building, I promise you, when you make that offer to go into their home and pray with them and they accept us, then what comes of those stories, because people do open up to you when they believe that you're genuine with what you're wanting for them, they will open their lives up to you, and then you can share your story with them. There's a ton of stories in this church.
And to reiterate about the prayer, when you read the Bible, when you read Jesus doing what he does, the majority of the time you see is Jesus praying. He goes off and prays. He prays. He prays. If he's got to pray, he's the Son of God. He is God. If he's got to pray, how much more should we have to pray, especially for others? But again, we would love anybody to come out, and if you're ready to receive a blessing, you'll get it, because God will just humble your heart and give you a desire to do it more. Thank you.